Coach, do you have any update on Russell Gage?
Yeah, he just has a concussion. He should be being released this afternoon. His neck is fine, and right now he has all his extremities moving.
Wonderful news.
Yes.
Coach, what was your message to your team today? They won't all be here together again, obviously, but just your assessment of their season.
Similar to yesterday, today was more or less, when we come back, off season is voluntary, but at the same time, it builds camaraderie, it builds chemistry, and it builds culture. So when you have an off season and everyone has their own personal training, you come back, you're not really together at that point. Just if guys can come in and work out. Again, it's all voluntary. We're not making nobody do this, but to start the chemistry and the culture and the camaraderie early. I played 8 years for the same team and the same coordinator. I took the same notes every year, every day until it becomes second nature. You have to treat it like that. And, when we get to that point, and we need to get to that point, that's when you become a team again, and that's when you have some success going forward. So it all starts in the off season about taking care of their bodies and coming back in the right frame of mind. We know we won't have everybody. We understand that, and with all the draft picks, injuries, free agency, and so forth, and you can't afford everybody. So we'll try to make the right decisions going forward and thank everybody for their efforts. And, when you come back here, we'll see different culture, different chemistry, and different camaraderie.
Was chemistry and camaraderie something that was missing in this team this year?
Well, no, we had a lot of it. You can have more of it, You can always have more of it. And it starts there, especially in the off season. That's all you can do, so it has to start there.
So, Jack, after reviewing the film of last night, who would you say really had playoff caliber performances? Who do you think came to play? To use that expression last night.
We all came to play, but we didn't all play, And, you lose a game like that, and we won't sit up here and laud people for having a good performance because that's not really true. I thought Godwin did some very good things that way. Ryan Jensen fought, he fought, and everybody else. I can't sit there and say somebody had a breakout game that played well.
How can you assess Chris Godwin's season after coming back from such a significant injury?
It was tough. It was a lot of grit and determination. I thought he played with a lot of heart the first half of the season. As he got healthier, you could see his talent coming back in and his quickness coming back in and his toughness coming back in. I thought as the season grew, he got better and better, and he turned out being, he was one of my comeback players of the year, so I thought he did a great job.
Has there been a decision to let Byron Leftwich go as offensive coordinator?
No, there hasn't been any decision.
What's your assessment of him, from a end of day after season?
I don't have any assessment right now. I'm reevaluating players. We'll meet as a coaching staff later in the week, and I'll meet with individual coaches as well as the staff, which we do every year, and we'll make those assessments then.
Do you foresee any coaching staff changes?
Like I said, I'll meet with the staff at the end of the week, and we'll talk about everything then. I don't want to sit here and say we're talking about things when I haven't even talked over things with my coaches. We do our yearly assessment just like we do with the players.
Tom, you look at the running game, it started off well in week one in terms of the production, and you guys wanted to be more balanced and run the ball more effectively this year. It didn't materialize, and you ended up with the league's worst rushing attack. Was it coaching? Was it scheme? Was it personnel? Was it play sequencing? What was the root cause of the running game just not being productive for you guys this year like it needed it to be?
I think anytime you're the worst in the league, it's a combination of everything. There's no one thing that you can point to say that we weren't good in the running game other than we weren't good in the running game. So we'll look at the tape and we'll reevaluate everything, and we'll make those decisions going forward of why we had such a bad thing, and we try to do that weekly, but we'll do that yearly as a staff, and we'll go from there.
How important is that to you going forward for next year to have not just a confident or credible running attack, but having a good running attack to your vision of what this offense should be?
It's important, but at the end of the day, you do what you do best. You want to score more points than the other team. Winning is first, and if you get runs within the win, then you're very happy. If you're throwing the ball and you're winning, you're very happy. So let's not overblow it. It's a passing league right now, but, you want to be able to run the ball more, but if you get down, you have to throw, or sometimes you just have to throw if they crowd in the box. So it's all relative. We want to be better. We want to do better in the run game, but the ultimate thing is winning, and whatever it takes us to win, we got to do that.
On that note, what was your assessment of Leonard Fournette this season, and was the idea, I know they had mentioned this on the broadcast, was the idea to kind of shelve him for the second half of the season in hopes that he could have kind of that playoff Lenny, provide that playoff Lenny spark to you guys in the postseason?
I thought Lenny started out the season tough. I thought Rashad came on. We never thought about shelving him to the second half of the season so he can be playoff Lenny. I thought they were a good 1-2 punch. We tried to play the year out like that, and some games we had some success, not moderate success, so to speak, and a lot of games we didn't, but we tried to have a 1-2 punch, but we never once thought about shelving him.
How difficult is it to plan for next year and not knowing what Tom Brady's decision will be, or even when he's going to make it? Do you have to have certain parallel tracks? And kind of went through this a little bit last year, and then 40 days later he was back. So is it free agency? Is like, when would you need to make those plans at quarterback?
Well, that's a good question. We'll have those decisions that we have to discuss. You want to have a bunch of plans, but they can all go to pot beforehand. We'll meet with Tom. We'll meet with everybody else. We'll meet with the brass, and we'll come up with a plan and see where we are. And if that's the case, hopefully it doesn't have to come after free agency and everything else like that. You want to have plans going into it. So we'll do our due diligence, and we'll meet with the parties involved, and we'll come up with a plan one way or the other.
Todd, you guys have a high number of free agents, and they're clustered in some positions like defensive line and defensive backs. Knowing that you can't keep everybody, are there positions and players that are priorities for you going into this?
We haven't met on them yet, but we will prioritize the guys that we really want to keep and guys that we're willing to wait and see go out there. And I think every team's going to have the same problem, so we got to be prepared either way.
Do you feel like it's comparable to a year ago? I know you weren't necessarily in the same role this time a year ago, but comparable in terms of the difficult decision to not being able to keep everybody with a lot of talented free agents?
I don't know if it was as difficult last year because we won and we were like 13-4. We still won the division, and it was a different team. It was a different team. This year we had a different team, and then next year is going to be a different team as well. So we'll meet and talk about the direction we want to go, and we know changes need to be made, and we'll go accordingly.
Coach, when you were hired, you said the defensive guys knew you very well, but the offensive guys would have to learn what you're all about as a leader and as a coach. Do you feel you were able to connect with them as well as you wanted to?
Most of them, yeah. Most of them, yeah. You still got to connect with a few more, but you try to take time out and talk to a lot of the guys and get to know them, have them get to know you. I don't think it's a forced thing, but I thought we got along. I thought we had some chemistry. I think we have a good understanding of each other.
Todd, I know that you're obviously entitled to take some time on this decision, but I don't know if you feel comfortable with your performance as a play caller. Is that something that you want to continue for next year, calling the plays, or are you looking to maybe hand that duty off to one of your assistants or someone else and be more of just that, all-encompassing head coach?
We'll always talk about it. I've never been an all-encompassing. I have to make all the decisions, but we have guys capable of calling plays over there as well. We'll talk about it as a staff, and we'll go through the dynamics of it, and we'll kind of go there, even let a few of them call some preseason games and see where we are. We'll make the best decision going forward.
Off the top of your head, are there areas that you feel comfortable saying, these are where we want to grow going into next season?
Everywhere.
Todd, in terms of your pass rush, how effective was that, especially your four-man pass rush this year? You're obviously known for blitzing, and you've had some success doing that with Winfield, his sacks, Devin White, and Levante, et cetera. But just in terms of getting home with four when you wanted to, was that good enough for you this year?
No, I don't think it was great. I think we were similar the last 3 years in numbers, or at least within 3 or 4 of number-wise, but they all came from different guys. I think when your nose is your leading sack guy, I don't think the pass rush was good enough. We fell off some, we've missed some, but they came from a multiple group of people. You want to be able to get there with 4 so you can play more coverage. I thought we got better from a pass defense standpoint in that aspect, but we can also rush the passer better.
Is there one broad reason that's not necessarily game to game? One broad reason why you blitzed so much less this year than you had in the past?
Well, injuries in the secondary and just coverage and matchups, and then people up front, having a double better receivers, I think, this year with Chase and all those guys. And in the past, we could zero out a little bit more, and sometimes you have to change things up. I think we're somewhere close in the sack vicinity, and you get behind in closer games, so you have to be a little bit more conservative. But, there's no one reason why we did it. It's just a cat and mouse game.
Coach, how do you assess Ryan Jensen and his return after such a significant injury in day 2 of training camp, and he misses the whole entire season, and then has to start in such an important game? How do you think he handled that pressure?
I thought he handled it well. His juices were flowing when he came out. Thought it'd be better off to start Ryan than Hainsey, because if Hainsey got hurt and then Ryan got hurt right after it, we'd be out of it. So we let Ryan go. He's feeling pretty good, so we kind of let him ride it out. And, his adrenaline carried him. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he was tough, and he boosted morale, and he brought guys together up there.
On the offensive line, you got a fair amount of, probably have more starters next year than you'll have spots for starters, just because guys filled in with injuries. With some of those guys having versatility, you saw Gedeke at tackle, we've seen Leverett, Walton at multiple spots. Are there positions where you want to try offensive linemen in different positions this spring, this offseason?
Too early to tell. It's possible, but to see them do it during the season gives you some hope they can do some other things. So we'll play around with it in the spring as we meet on it as a staff.
And you still think of Gedeke as a guard moving forward right now?
He played guard, but he was a tackle in college. So, he can take some reps out there as a swing tackle or do some things. So we'll move some guys around.
Would the preference still be, because I know they played right tackle in college, would the preference still be for him to try to play that left guard spot, or would you be open to having him play on the right side?
It's too early right now. We'll be open to anything right now, but it's too early to tell. We haven't met on it.
Todd, with outside linebacker, Shaq's coming off that Achilles. That's a dicey injury, especially for a guy that's 30. Joe Tryon, jury's kind of still out on him. Is that a position you're going to look to upgrade in the offseason?
If the situation becomes available, we definitely need more sacks from that position. That's one of our money positions where we count on sacks to come from, the majority of them anyway. So hopefully Shaq comes back okay. With a third year, Joe can be better at that. Nelson, hopefully we can get back, and Carl stepped in nicely, but we need more production from a sack standpoint out of that position.
When you look at Joe Tryon showing 4 sacks as a rookie, he played a lot of inside nickel just because you had to use him at that spot. He played more outside this year, maybe more with his natural position, but only finished with 4 sacks. And he has maybe some issues closing the deal on some of those, missing some sacks. Did he live up to your expectations this year? Where's his ceiling, do you think, heading into year 3?
I think he can get a lot better. He fell off quite a few sacks. Like you said, he finished closing. He might have missed more sacks than he made. And if he makes those, he's fine. And we got to work on him finishing at the top of the rush, especially falling off the quarterback. I think he leaves his feet too early. We've talked about this. He understands that going forward, and we'll try to get him better and get him to the next level from that standpoint. But he's still got all the talent in the world, and we're waiting for this guy to break out. And when he does, and if he does, he's going to be a heck of a player.
Is it one of those things too where he needs to kind of stick with the pass rush plan and play that chess game too, and the mental side of the pass rush?
It's more experience. When you start your first year, you see a lot of different block combinations and guys how to bait you and everything else like that. He has some learning games where he understands how he has to rush and how people start attacking him, then chip blocks and everything else like that he understood this year that he needs to see. So next year, hopefully, the experience of that will help him going forward.
Aside from winning more games, right, which is what everybody wants to do, what do you wish you had done differently, better? Just from a end of season standpoint, looking back at it.
You want to close out the division earlier. You really want to do that. I thought we had some games that got away from us that we should have won earlier, and we didn't close them out. I thought we should have been mentally tougher in the first half of the season like we were in the second half of the season, and you want to try and get better at that.
When you took over on March 30th, you said that you sensed that the team at the end of the 2021 season, that the details started to slip a little bit. Do you feel that the team made some strides in that area? And if so, when you make some comments like, well, this was a day 1 install that got busted, Is that kind of the stuff you're talking about when it comes to details, or is it something else?
No, that's it. I mean, talking about consistency. You know, when you know what to do and you do it 9 out of 10 times, and the 10th time you don't do it. You know, what is that? That's a lapse in judgment. That's something that you don't want to happen, and you want to have happen. That comes with your everyday study, where you have to do it enough to where it's second nature, where you don't have to think about it.
Todd, not knowing the quarterback situation, not a very good cap situation, drafting 19th overall, is this a rebuild or a reload for 2023 in your mind?
You never want to rebuild. You always reload. No matter if you have new guys or not, you want guys that can come in and play and compete for you to win the division.
What's your thoughts on Blaine Gabbert? He's a guy that's known this coaching staff and in the system for a long time.
Blaine's a heady player, extremely smart. I think he helps out a great deal on both sides of the ball, understands what the game is about, competitor, love what he does for us in practice, getting us looks, loves how he helps Tom out. Tough guy. He's one of my favorite players.
Coach, do you feel you had the influence on the offense in total this year that you wanted to?
I don't think you can have as much influence as you want on an offense that's been together for 4 years, and that's what they do. You make your talks and you have your meetings and your conversations, and you try to help wherever you can. From a defensive side of the ball, I try to help them make sure they're seeing what they see and go on from there. But, you know, you can't chime in every play when the offense is on the field, because that doesn't allow them to try and do their job.
When you mentioned the details, where do you think those breakdowns are happening with those day one installs and things like that? Is that a coaching thing? Do players is it more study for them? I know those guys are still coming in early and watching that tape.
Well, if you do it 9 out of 10 times right, it's not a coaching thing or a playing thing. That means you know what you're doing, and you just busted that play. So that's just football. Or the guy makes a play on you, and you busted the play, or you just missed something that has nothing to do with coaching or studying. That's just in the moment of the game. You mess up that play, you got to be more disciplined than that.
Is that where mental toughness comes in?
Most of the time, yes.
Todd, do you expect Bruce Arians to be back in the same kind of role, an advisory role moving forward?
I don't know. We haven't talked yet. You know, I don't know what his future holds. Bruce can kind of do anything he wants to do right now, and we'll see going forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you.